Leland told me like, oh, I think we need a break. And I was like, what? Like, wow, that just, my heart just dropped. Like, who was that person that really just, crushed you?
With Joanne, that breakup was probably more,
before you just love with abandon and just love, just being young is beautiful. Now it's like, I still want to feel it, but then I've been hurt. I've been hurt bad.
1, 2, 3, yeah!
Hey, I'm Bobby.
I'm Allan.
And you can call us
Daddy.
This is going to be a tougher conversation here.
Really? What are we talking about?
Love. How would you define love?
Woo, that's pretty heavy, man. You're making me, I'm glad I work out and everything.
That's why I wore the
That's a heavy
jacket today,
topic.
yeah.
How would I define love? I think love, it's more about, for me, it's more about the way someone makes you feel that, creates a chemical reaction or creates this emotional, I think, response from you to want to love them or to feel like you're in love.
Is this the biophysicist in you coming out, like the chemical reaction? Is this the, because he's got a medical background. I mean,
I do. Did people know that? I'm actually college educated. But how about for you? I'm going to ask you the same thing. How would you like to define love?
Think about it like, I don't think about myself first, I think about their happiness first. Obviously, we want to keep ourselves happy as well. That can be a trap that gets us into a lot of trouble. But you think about that other person in making them happy because you think about them more than you think about yourself. That to me is love.
Through your, all your dating, all the women you fell in love with, or that fell in love with you, is it still this concept that has been unchanged, or do you think it's changed? Has it been redefined through your own journey with love?
I think when you're younger, you can confuse lust with love very easily. As you get older, you understand what love is more than, you can separate the two. Growing up, I dated a lot of bad girls. Because I was looking for people that I could fix, because I wanted to help them be better people. And I also realized that sometimes when you think you're in love, it's more lust or it's more co-companionship, but it's actually not love like you feel as you're older. What about you?
So I think for me, who I was back then versus now, the whole concept of love has changed. Being young is beautiful. Right. You just want to experience it and you go all in. Now it's like, I still want to feel it, but then I've been hurt. I've been hurt bad, and so do I really want to, step back into this realm too?
Talk about heartbreak, man. Interesting thing, because you brought that up.
Yeah.
How has heartbreak defined you?
How does heartbreak define me? I don't think it's defined me at all, but I think it's
How has it changed you?
It's changed me to realize, nothing, no matter how perfect someone or something may seem, you realize that nothing is guaranteed to last forever. That feeling you have towards someone, all those marital vows, all those choices you thought you made in order to, because you love this person. I wouldn't say sacrifice as a negative connotation, but all these choices you made because you love this person, sometimes just aren't enough. And so it leads to, heartache and heartbreak and everything too. And it hurts. It really, really hurts. I think, with my ex-wife, we have 2 kids that we both adore, and
right.
The only true unconditional love is that of a parent for a child. You have a lot of bandwidth to fuck up, where your parents will still love you and be there for you. But when it comes to your partner, it is conditional.
Yeah.
Maybe the conditions are a lot more favorable for starting out because there's a lot of emotions that are, there's a lot of chemical, a lot of butterflies, a lot of, just happiness, just thinking about them, a lot of bliss. But of course that's, I call that the cloud 9 phase. That wears off after a while too.
Yeah.
Then it changes, So heartbreak, it really defines, I think the harder you love, the more you're setting yourself up for heartbreak. But how about for you? How would you define? What was the biggest point in your life where your heart was broken? I think for me, it was obviously with Leland, I think just not working out. It was the darkest period of my life, was just trying to get through that. But for you, who was that person that really just, crushed you?
Obviously my first relationship, when that didn't work out, that was because the first time I've ever experienced love and then heartbreak. I don't know if this is true, but for me, it's the hardest relationship to get over is always the first one. Because that's the one that was the most non-tainted, you had no preconceived notions of
No, I can agree with that, but I can also not agree. I can agree because obviously you were in a very intense and a very, very, I think, you both obviously had a lot of emotion for each other too. If things were all aligned properly with you and your first girlfriend, would you have gotten married and were you guys ready to go?
I think we would have, but she was...
Yeah, why did you guys not work out then in the end?
Drugs. She was a drug addict. She was always on and off it. I mean, there was times that she'd go on a binge for like 2-3 days, and then she'd crash for 2-3 days. And I would be like, wow, why doesn't she want to talk to me? What did I do wrong? And not realizing that it was actually the drugs.
She's on drugs? Oh yeah, I'm gonna fall in love with a girl that's a drug addict.
No, but I didn't know because I was so...
You didn't know she was on drugs?
No, I didn't know the impact of what drugs did in a relationship because I was so... I mean, even though I grew up in Las Vegas, this is my very first girlfriend when I was 18. I was kind of like you. I was kind of like the geeky guy. Not a lot of girls liked me. I was very shy. I barely talked to anybody. I just played sports.
We gotta find a picture of you. We gotta get a picture of you and me in high school and see who's more geeky.
But in a more mature, let's say later on in years, I would say probably my relationship here with Joanne, that breakup was probably more, I think publicly more substantial because it was like right there in the media, like yours was. And it's like, oh my God, it's like, okay, everything's accentuated by 10 because it's not just two people dealing with a breakup. It's also two people plus media perception and magazines and all these other outlets trying to judge you and forums on Hardware Zone, trying to judge you on your relationship, on who's right, who's wrong, who's good, who's bad. But the one thing it did do, it did accelerate the healing process. Because usually when you go through so much pain, but you're going through it with everybody else, the healing process gets sped up much faster.
What do you think happened that led to you to not getting married? Did she ever explicitly tell you, or do you think it was because you being Angmo, being white?
It was a few things. I think.
What do you think? Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I don't want to put words in somebody's mouth because that's not the right thing to do. But I will say, based on my experience, I think there were aspects where we just weren't communicating about how we felt about certain things. I think we were so caught up in our careers and our journey in this industry that we were just caught up in the moments of these things and not really talking about how we felt or what things were going on, or if we had any issues with the other person. It's interesting, right? Because
I think communication is so important.
It is.
Too.
It is.
You know? And I think you get to a point where you both are public figures. There's so much pressure on you both, right, to maintain a certain image together and by yourself.
Yeah.
You know, and then like you said, you get to a point where you just aren't really. I hear you, but I'm not listening.
Yeah.
And I see you, but I'm not really processing anything too.
Yeah, there was a bit of that, I can definitely say. I can say that I also probably I had some, I think it takes two hands to clap, right?
Absolutely.
And I can say in my space, I can think I got caught up that I lost a bit of myself of why we were in this relationship in the first place. And I was thinking about just work. How can I continue to work? How can I continue to do this? How can I continue to keep this going? And not thinking about, we're not communicating a lot about the relationship or any issues that she may have had. We didn't talk about it. And she didn't talk to me as well. So, because she's busy and in our industry, like these people, they spend hours and hours on set 7 days a week. You don't talk a lot. You know what I mean? By the time you get home, you're just tired, you want to go to sleep, and you want to get up the next day. And this cycle progresses. And then overall, you stop talking.
By the time something actually happens, the writing's already been on the wall. There's already been cracks, I mean, that's what I felt too.
Yeah.
It's not a shock. Of course, it's a shock when you hear it. When, let's say, Leland told me like, oh, I think we need a break. We need a break. And I was like, what? Like, wow, that just, my heart just dropped. Yeah. When you're shocked because it actually came out, but there's been foreshadowing for a long time, and you just realize like, wow, this is crazy, man. I think the whole world, everything just kind of just flying by. Like think about what's going to happen in the future. What about my kids with her and what's going to happen? You're just completely you're flabbergasted, and you're just completely like just a mess, just trying to figure things out. And that in itself is just it's just so tumultuous, and it's painful. It's painful. At that time I was in China.
Right.
I was in China, and Leland and I moved to China with Sage and Jonas, and it was there that I think she realized that she didn't want to throw in the towel, want to call it quits. And then the next thing you know, it's all over the press, all over the news. And then if you could do it all over again, do you think you would have tried to maybe seek therapy or try and see, hey, obviously we're together, but I can tell things aren't like they were when you first started dating?
I would say when she told me that she wanted to break up, and it's funny, we just traveled to America.
Yeah.
It was like on New Year's Day. We just got there, We just had some little bickering about something, I forget, and then she's like, I want to break up. And I'm like, what? And then I was like, what's going on? And then she finally sat down and had a conversation about how she felt. And I said to her, I remember these words, I said, why didn't you tell me this before? All of this that you're feeling could be easily addressed if it was just communicated. And it's not to say that she was wrong and I was right. No,
it was the very first time.
It was just like both of us not talking about these issues, these fundamental issues that could have been addressed. They weren't deal breakers. They were just really communication things, but it wasn't addressed until that point has already been made. And then afterwards, through the rest of the trip, we talked a lot about the relationship, and I thought we were on the right track of, healing and getting back on the right page. And then I think when we got back to Singapore, it was kind of a lose-lose battle from there.
What is one big lesson you learned in that relationship?
Talk it out.
Talk it out.
Talk it out. Talk it out. If there's an issue, do not keep it inside. Get it out. And sometimes it can end up being a big argument and you can yell and scream, but at least it's out there on the table. Because if it's not, after a while you hold it in, you start resenting, and then other things start building up, and then all of a sudden you have this distance between you and that person. Talk it out.
In this day and age, for me personally, I think the whole concept of love and marriage, this is probably not something people want to hear.
Well, okay, let me ask you a question. Have you found love again?
Have I? Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think it took a long time. I think after that, I was so devastated after that experience being married and getting divorced. I was really, really hurt. And I think for me, the only thing that really got me through, which people probably maybe can or cannot relate to, was working out. Was using that pain, that heartbreak. I remember when I was in China, I think living in Shanghai, Sage and Jonas were really small. It's freezing there. It was maybe -1, -2. Every morning she was away, she were not living together anymore too. I'm taking care of the kids. Every morning I get them ready to go to school, prepare their uniform, their lunch, put them on the school bus, and I would go, in the middle of, in the winter, go on a track and run 20, 25, 30 laps, topless. Forget about, this heartache, this loss, this pain, just numbing yourself where you're so tired where you can't feel sorry for yourself.
How many years did it take you to get over this? Or are you not over it still?
I'm over it, man. I'd say probably to get over it, maybe a year or two. I think intense year, or maybe over 2 years, Then you have to kind of really look love in the eye again and say do I really want to go through this all again? That's why I said earlier, despite all that pain and all that angst and all that, confusion, what did I do wrong? I would still do it all over again in a heartbeat, because...
Would you want to have kids again?
I don't want to have kids anymore. No. I'm done. I'm done with kids. I'm done. Look at my two kids. They're grown up. Sage is 20 this year. Jonas is 18. Applying to college, and I couldn't be happier. I think they were my purpose. My kids have given me every reason to want to live another day, to watch them grow up.
What would one piece of advice you'd give to somebody for love and heartbreak?
Love and heartbreak. I'd say, I think you might think you're not making enough money. You might think, oh, this is not going to work out. You might, experience heartbreak. But I'm like, fuck it, love. Go out there and love and experience it. I think it's so true. As much heartache or heartbreak as we've experienced, I would never change anything, because of my kids. She allowed me to be a father, to be a daddy, to these two kids that I'm not sure they appreciate me at all, but I will always forever
I think they do,
but
maybe not the topless photos on Instagram.
I don't know, yeah. I don't know, yeah. I don't. Yeah.
They told you. They're like, Dad.
Not even though that's the least of their problems. A lot of things I do, they just can't stand. But that's love, They have no choice. Tough titties. How about for you? What advice would you give, or what type of anecdotes or insight do you have from your colorful experience being such a lover and not a fighter?
I know. Life is about love. It's about heartache. It's about experience, and you can't actually understand what life is about without love. You can't understand what life is about without heartache. You need both of those to get an idea of what life is about, and in the between that is life.
God, you are so profound.
I've had a lot of time to think about it as you were talking.
Yeah, that's
because
good.
You were on your whole soliloquy going on there, so I had some time to think about that. We're on this earth for however much time we have, and what makes where we're at so special, what makes us so special as human beings, is the capacity to love and to show it and to build things around it. And from our passions and from our experiences with relationships and through everything about it, it's what keeps us going. And so you gotta live life, man. You gotta live life.
I like that. And on that note, we hope you guys enjoyed this session with us. So make sure you like it, share with your friends as he's opening his heart up here, sharing with me his love triumphs, his love stories, everything too. But we hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm Allan.
I'm Bobby.
Call us Daddy.